back in the day, Jordan just was an a-hole to play against.
So who's your favorite female athlete?
Caitlin Clark is in Indiana too.
What was it like to play against LeBron James? Does he have that aura on the court?
You can say that, you know.
We talked about LeBron James. What do you think about Bronny playing in the G League?
It helps the league, absolutely. It brings more notoriety.
Are we going to see more big players coming over from Europe? You know, we've seen players like Luka Doncic.
The United States is a country in itself, but if you put like a few countries together in Europe, you kind of make up the size of, you know.
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Essentially Sports. We got Cameron McGriff here today. Started at Oklahoma State University, been around the world playing basketball, appeared in the NBA, now rocking it in the G League. Cam, really good to see you, man. How's it going?
It's going well, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, very well. Great to have you on. So cool that basketball has brought you around the world. I mean, you've been Belgium, France, Puerto Rico, and more. So was basketball always the one for you?
Absolutely. Well, I'll have to say I did play football for a good period of my life. American football, I would say, just to clarify that. And then by the time I got to high school, I kind of made the decision just to choose one sport and focus on that.
Who did you look up to when you were a kid?
Family-wise, I'll have to say, just people like my father. But from an athlete standpoint, Kobe was my favorite player growing up. Big Kobe guy. So just how I approach the game on a regular basis. And Kevin Garnett, those are my two favorite players growing up.
How would you describe yourself as a player?
A lot of energy, versatile. I like to play with an edge a little bit, and just try to impact the game in as many ways as possible. And it might not be with specifically scoring every night.
So you are with the Indiana Mad Ants. How's things going over there? This seems like a really good time for the G League. A lot of love for the league, a lot of love from the NBA, and it seems to be going like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, my experience is great here in Indiana. A part of a great organization with a great team right now. We're doing really well in the season. And yeah, this is that time of year when there's a lot of change in the NBA, leaning into All-Star break, trade deadline. It's coming up with that, and there'll be a lot of movement amongst the league. And some teams they like to, pick guys from our league and get called up, and so it'll be a lot of movement around this time of year. It's always exciting.
How do you deal with that movement? You kind of never know for sure where you're going to be in 6 months' time. Are you used to it now?
Absolutely. It's just the nature of the business. You can never get too comfortable. I think in every franchise there may be one person who's indisposable, maybe two, as far as like the top NBA guys, but especially at my level, we're all disposable in the G League, and then in the NBA, you've seen it. The guys are getting shuffled around every year.
What about the travel? Like, I said at the top, you've been around the world playing basketball. What's that been like?
It's a bit different because I would say in the States, I travel much further geographically, obviously within games. But obviously when I played overseas in Europe, that one flight all the way across the ocean, it's pretty far with the time difference, trying to communicate with my family and whatnot. And I at least get to see my family throughout the year. I have family scattered around the States, so like I can catch them at games as well when I'm on the road. It works pretty conveniently, but it's a much, you gotta pay a lot of attention into your routine and taking care of your body, no matter where you're at. You don't get to always lay in your own bed every night, so you still gotta keep the same routine.
How do you stay disciplined? How do you stay driven? Because you gotta be a well-oiled machine, and there's not much room for what regular people do, whether it's like eating badly, drinking badly, slacking off training. You got to be on it all the time. How do you deal with that?
It just comes with the discipline to get to this point. Going into year 5, I would say that my my talent is what got me into the mix, I would say, but my discipline and my professionalism is what's kept me here, and my work ethic as well. The average lifespan for a professional career is less than 3 years. For all that, like, professional basketball players. So I'm just blessed and fortunate enough to have a little bit of longevity and be considered to some places as a veteran guy in the locker room that's kind of been through it, been through the ropes in many different places at many different levels. So I hang my hat on it and take a lot of pride in that. So I know that's the main way I can set myself apart.
What's the coolest thing for you that you've done in your career? I mean, turning out for some absolute giants. I mean, that photo of you in the Blazers jersey, for me, that's such an iconic jersey. What means the most to you so far?
I can definitely say that that's on the top of the list. Is getting that call up. I can't not say that. But even to the extent of just getting through a long stint of hardships when I did finish a successful season overseas. I always take pride in that because it's tough out there. It can make or break a lot of guys. You know, and I was able to survive through the fire in tough circumstances. So I hang my hat on experiences that I've had in different places to make me a better professional I am today. But at the top of the list, that's definitely the 10-day for sure.
How did you adjust when you first started to play overseas? It was Belgium, right? Did you see anything playing over there that was like, wow, this is different?
Yeah, I would say the physicality and just the rules alone. It took me a long time to adjust, about a few months, and then as far as thinking the game, I had to learn that as well. Um, Being able to think strategically and tactically on the court is something that I learned from my first year coach, uh, Yves Defrenier, when I was in Belgium. He taught me a lot about the European style of play, which ultimately helped me when I came back to the States that second year.
Can you talk to me about college basketball, having experienced it with Oklahoma State Cowboys and now experienced the G League? There's not only one option, right, for players to go to the NBA now. Can you talk to us about which avenue is going to make you most ready and the merits of both avenues?
I think everything is different for each person. Each scenario is different. For me, I wouldn't trade my route for anybody else's. On how I maneuvered through this path. For my play style, I knew that I complemented the NBA game because I am athletic. I have good physical tools, solid physical tools for the NBA. But when it came to my skill level, my first year coming out of college, I don't think that I was necessarily prepared for what I had coming my way. So me learning everything that I did learn in that first year pro is definitely a great thing for me. And I would consider it for many people who want to play the long game, because it's not easy playing your first year overseas and being away from family and having no sight. I didn't think about the NBA at all. I was watching EuroLeague games, Champions League games, Euro Cup games all the time. And when I shift my mindset back to the American style of play, I kind of brought what I've learned from there back to the States. So that helped me. I don't know if it's easy. It's easier said than done for most guys. Guys are getting paid a lot of money to stay in college. The money isn't the same overseas. So, like, I understand those variables that go into it as well now. I wasn't getting paid in college, so I didn't have to really deal with that.
Having felt what it's like in the NBA, what is the vibe? What is the strategy, the level like? How much do you feel the difference between the NBA and the G League?
In the NBA, everybody's just a lot stronger, faster, and taller. Like that's just really what it is. It's the G League on times 10. Any given night, there's a pro, a superstar that's out on the floor that you're going against, and you know, I was only there for three games, but I learned very quick, that there's no breaks out there, especially for a guy like me. Um, got to be locked in every single possession, and just be at your best. You got to be at your best because if you're not, you're going to get embarrassed.
Would you say you're in your prime now? Where do you see yourself in a couple of years' time? Are you looking at the NBA and is there a team that you would most like to be a part of?
Any team that wants to give me a shot, that's who I'm always gonna be for, absolutely. But yeah, just turning to 27 a couple months ago. This is that time, where I am scratching the surface of what my ceiling is going to look like, what my peak is going to look like as a professional. I still feel like I am getting better, though. I have my best days of basketball ahead of me. Um, but I do understand that part of it. It's no more, he has good potential anymore. Like it has to be production over potential at this point now in my career. So yeah, there's no team. I just feel like I bring so many things to the table. I could probably help a team with rebounding, like defensive versatility. I can make open shot. Those things that all teams could use. So I'm not. I think that I could help many teams in the league. So I don't shy away from that at all.
In elite sport, there's so many highs and lows, and you just have to deal with it. So you must be mentally strong. Can you tell us about how you deal with that? Like 2020, not getting drafted by the NBA. How did you deal with that? And do you think lockdown, COVID was a bit to blame?
Absolutely. It was, but it wasn't going to be my excuse. Absolutely, it was something that we all had to deal with at that time. But the facts are the facts of my draft that year got pushed all the way back to December versus everybody getting drafted in June. By that time, I was 3 months in of playing professional basketball overseas. So I had real life things that I had to deal with outside of just chasing my dream, unfortunately. Taking care of the people that I love back home. That's really what came first for me. So that's what led to me making that decision. With that, going undrafted, like you said, I never did a pre-draft workout for anybody. I've probably only been in a handful of NBA facilities, even at this age. Whenever like a guy like me leaving college, I would have been on the road maybe 15, 14 pre-draft workouts. I hear the stories all the time, especially the guys that are undrafted guys. They bounce around from city to city just trying to earn their keep and get a team to gain some type of interest in them. So I didn't really get that opportunity. So I just have to lay all my cards out in the G League and perform in front of them whenever I got the opportunities.
Could you tell us a bit more about your journey? Because how many kids in America want to play professional basketball? Like getting paid to play the game that you love is unbelievable achievement in itself. Did kids your age, when you were like, 12, 13, you said you were playing football, but did they know and would they be proud to know that their friend is now a professional basketball player?
Um, it's a grind, man. It's a grind. I never try to get too up or too low. Obviously, I've dealt with my bumps in the road. I've been sent home by a team before. I've been, homesick overseas before. Like I've been a lot of these things. So I've dealt with DMPs in the G League. So even after a guy who's had his names in 10-day talks multiple times, so I've been at every level there is just about outside of being obviously a full-time NBA guy. But every role on from the last man on the bench to the starting go-to guy. Like I've been everywhere. So I'll just have to say, just remain humble, and no matter what, in whatever position that you're in, um, because it's easy to get the big head when you have everything that you want. But that's when people like to say the basketball guys will come in and take care of all that if you don't respect the game. So I just try to stay humble and respect, you know, respect this game, and it'll definitely like love me back.
This is sometimes a difficult question to answer off the top of your head, but you must have so many stories having played at different levels, different countries with different characters, different teammates. Is there a story that comes to your mind when I say, like, what's the craziest thing that's happened to you in professional basketball?
I know a couple plays. I don't know if you're necessarily referring to like off the court, on the court. Um, just having the experience of reverting back to the short time spent in the league. First game ever getting to play. I played against the Mavericks. Well, the first game I suited up in training camp with the team for preseason. That was a good experience. It's just a matter of how everything had unfolded for me. It was just very unconventional. Like I said, going back to the guy who never had a pre-draft workout, tried to go to summer league. I got COVID on the day before going to summer league to get on the plane to go to Vegas. I got COVID before that. Then later on later on that season, I get COVID on my 10-day. So it cuts my 10-day in half. So unfortunately, like that was just the end of my NBA experience. So I would say that had to be the craziest thing, just because it kind of all ended with a question mark for me in my mind. It's like, dang, I think I did well in the time that I was there, but it was just a matter of on to the next one for the organization, and I understand that part too.
What was it like to play against LeBron James? Does he have that aura on the court?
Yeah, I guess if you can say that, he went crazy the game that we played against him. It was definitely something I can tell my grandkids, uh, and you know, he's LeBron, man. It's the best. He's the best, one of the best to ever do it, if not the best. Yeah, man. It's really hard to put into words. Like you have to be there to really enjoy that moment in the moment. You know what I'm saying? That's really what I did about that, and then obviously like still got to lock in and play. So it really kind of happened all fast at the same time. Okay, wow, I'm playing LeBron. You know, snap out of it. You know what I'm saying? It's reality now. Like now you gotta like play defense.
You could ask any basketball fan in the world, they'll tell you why they think LeBron is special, but seeing him up close, is he a bully? Like, what's he like when talking to other players? Is he mean? Like,
Cool, down to earth. From what I know, I don't know him at all, but just very vocal on the court. You know, it's not really much of a like a stubborn guy like other superstars that are deemed to be. Like they say that like back in the day, Jordan just was an a-hole to play against, and there's some guys that are like that, but he necessarily wasn't. Especially not, well, at least not that night. I don't know. Maybe playoff basketball is a different mode for different players.
what is your Mount Rushmore in basketball?
Uh, my top four players. I have to say Kobe, Mike, KD, and LeBron. I guess. I mean, yeah. That's all I have to say. Like,
That's a solid four. That is a solid four, to be fair. Why those four?
that's just who all had my interest growing up as a kid. In the beginning, for me, it was Mike, even though I wasn't like old enough to really grasp playing, but just what he did for the culture and for the game of basketball is kind of embedded in most guys, coming down to wearing Jordans every week, trying to get the new J's, and um, you know, being an icon for the game. And then obviously Kobe, like I said, my favorite player of all time. And obviously LeBron is just LeBron. That was my whole childhood was Kobe and LeBron. That's what it was. And then towards the tail end was KD throughout my high school years. So
Can you
those
tell me
four.
about the talent in Europe? Are we going to see more big players coming over from Europe? You know, seeing players like Luka Doncic doing well over there and then flourishing. How high is the level over in Europe, do you think?
I think is just as high, like because you got to think the United States is a country in itself, but if you put like a few countries together in Europe, you kind of make up the size of you know the states. So it's just as much talent over there. You know, top. You can say the five best out of the five best players in the league or top 10, I would say half of them are European. I mean, or half of them are at least not from the States. Um, so, yeah, man, it's just a great, different brand of basketball. Just like when I came to Europe, when I went to Europe, I had to make an adjustment. It's just a matter of which European players are willing to make the adjustment to go play in the States in the NBA. I think that's all it all comes down to, Um, it's much harder for a European guy to be a role player than it is to be a superstar, just because they haven't been playing the same brand of basketball for so long.
Going back to the G League, with the rise of two-way contracts, how's the G League influenced the roster management for the NBA, do you think?
Um, I think they're definitely making it more suitable for guys in the G League to make a transition to the league. The league is built for that now, more as early on when it was back when I first started, it was only two-way contracts, and guys really were fighting for either those two-way contracts, and they were a lot more stable at the time. Like guys would keep their two ways pretty much throughout the whole year for the most part. Now it's tough for guys to stay on two ways. You got to really earn your keep because they're looking for the next hot hand to give those guys an opportunity to get into the league. So I think it's very helpful for guys for the league to bridge the gap to the G League, I would say.
We talked about LeBron James. What do you think about Bronny playing in the G League?
I think it helps the league for sure. It helps the league absolutely. It brings more notoriety and publicity to the game, as well as other factors that go into it. Because obviously, these people, a lot of players in the G League have carried their own fan base from whenever they came, whether it was college. Obviously, Bronny is Bronny, so he's going to have a fan base regardless. And I think it does nothing but elevate the league. There's a lot of people we talk about, the financial situation for the guys in the G League with standard contracts. And when you have guys like Bronny in the league, and which brings more eyes to it, ultimately you'll sell more tickets at games, which ultimately brings more money. So I think it's good for the league. It's great.
Tell me about no cosign. Fashion's your other passion, right? How'd you get into that, and how pleased are you with how that's going?
Um, yeah, it's a long story. So it actually all started when I did go overseas my first year, and with playing one game a week, during the pandemic, the whole country is shut down. I'm bored out of my mind, right? And I kind of wanted another hobby to have, and you know, I kind of had sort of an eye for how people dressed in Europe. I would say, like, it's really nice. I appreciate them, like, putting outfits together and styling themselves in different ways out there. Now, when it came to my brand, I used it mainly to just, you know, express myself a little better to the people. and have something tangible to my name. If somebody would never support me, rather than maybe buying an old Oklahoma State jersey, they can just get some no cosign instead, or whatever it may be, or trying to find the one of 8 Trailblazer Cameron McGriff jerseys they are to exist. They can just get like a no cosign shirt. So kind of did it for that, and it's grown. It's grown a lot. It all So Belgium was when I birthed the idea of the name No Cosign in itself, and then a year later, I actually made it real and started the brand, created my first piece. After that, the next year I ended up having a stint of playing in France, and that's when I kind of learned the ins and outs of how to design clothes and learn measurements and learn different cuts, different washes with materials, and things of that nature. And that's when I was able to start creating my own pieces through a manufacturer. So it's turned into an actual business now. I've been distributed in about 6 stores now, a few like just all over the country, and then still growing from there. So it's turned into a solid business for me to continue to grow and scale outside of basketball.
We've seen athletes like David Beckham have massive influence in fashion. Pharrell in music. Look at what he's doing now. Is there anyone you look up to in that regard?
Yeah, because and it's typically for me it's the guys who are able to kind of do things independently, I would say. Nick Young was actually started a clothing brand many years ago when I was like in college that I was hip to, and it was called Most Hated. And I was definitely a fan of that. I was copying that when I was young in college. And then what Kyrie is doing right now with Anta is kind of representing the individualism of like ownership. Him signing other athletes in the NBA to that brand as well, I think is very smart. And I know for a fact that he has a lot more creative control and a lot more hands in the pot than he would if he were to be at a big corporation like Nike. So I respect that in those avenues. I know it might not be easier, but I know it's much more impactful once you get the people on your side. So yeah, Jaylen Brown, he started his own sneaker line. Just all those guys in that club of just entrepreneurship for athletes, I think it's really dope.
All right, I got to wrap up some questions from the ES dugout. So, who's your favorite female athlete?
Oh man, favorite female athlete. Well, Caitlin Clark is in Indiana too, so that's an easy. That's a safe answer.
What did you do with your first paycheck? How did you spend it?
My first paycheck. What did I do? It wasn't nothing crazy. I think I saved it. It wasn't a lot of money. I was in Belgium, man. It was not a lot of money.
Can you tell us about your first ever Instagram post? I think you're in the locker room with 2 teammates either side of you.
Yeah, we actually just beat Texas after that game, post game. It's funny. I'm actually a Texas kid. Like I was born and raised in Texas. The University of Texas was a school that I wanted to go to. It was my dream school growing up. They ended up not showing any interest. Well, they showed interest, but they didn't really want me to go to their school. So I ended up going to a school that I knew that I was going to play them twice a year. So that was like my second to last game ever in college, actually. So kicking their butt in their arena was definitely it was a good feeling. So there's a lot of memories in that picture.
That's a great story. That's a great first Instagram post.
Yeah.
Fantastic. All right, rapid fire. What is your favorite basketball movie?
Like Mike.
Toughest player you ever faced?
LeBron James. That's the easy one.
Who's the GOAT for you across all generations?
Kobe Bryant.
Favorite musician?
Jay-Z.
Who do you want to win the 2025 Super Bowl?
Ravens.
What's your game day superstition, if any?
Gum. I need chewing gum. while I play. I have to have some type of training.
And what is your favorite spot to eat?
Whoever got the best sushi in town is usually my go-to.
Cam McGriff, you're the man. Wishing you all the best for everything. It's been awesome to speak to you. We appreciate it. And sorry for keeping you a little longer, man. Apologies for that.
Yes, sir. Respect, man. Appreciate it.